I know. It's been some time since I've actually been able to speak on anything that has been a little bit more recent regarding the Naruto Storm Connections leaks. And today, I'm taking the time to actually speak on some of the things I thought were important to know, important to share. And of course, a lot of this information is available to a lot of you if you have the internet, of course, which obviously if you're watching this video, you clearly do. But I'm here to share it just so that way you don't have to venture out looking for it in the scope of the internet. But the one thing that is very important as far as looking at this game and knowing its worth is how does it compare to the other Storm titles? And a lot of that has to do with characters. Characters are a big proponent to how these games work and essentially dictate if you're going to purchase this game or not, right? It's really a decision maker. One of the first leaks that I've read on the internet by Naruto Storm Co. Was that the latest rumors say that Ishiki and Naruto Baryon will be DLC. And they say that it comes back, he came back to that at first, they'll both be 100% playable. Secondly, it is impossible to know from the current databases if they'll be a DLC. All people say that, well, they essentially lie to you. If Ishiki and Naruto will arrive as DLC, will be on the day of release, simply because they will not be in the game. They are registered in the game data. It's called logic and not a leak. This is in fact true. My only issue with this is that let's just say, for instance, because as the data suggests, whenever they mention Kara, whenever they mention Naruto Baryon, whenever they mention Ishiki, or any other character or any other faction within the Boruto universe, right? If it's even mentioned in conversation, if it's mentioned in a sentence, if you're going to base it on data, then the data will always be there, because even if you mention the name, it will appear within the data itself. Doesn't mean that the characters are actually in there, doesn't mean that the characters are actually full on playable, it just means that they are mentioned. So for instance, I would be upset if Ishiki and Naruto Baryon mode would be DLC and if you had to pay for them separately. Data leaks aside, logic aside, if those characters are things that you have to pay for on release, that's already putting a bad taste in everyone's mouths, because the idea is to be met with a new game completely with characters that we haven't been able to use yet in the previous games, regardless of what other Naruto platform you've played, whether it be like the Voltage, the Blazing, whether it be Shinobi Striker, anything like that at all that has incorporated some of this stuff from the Boruto universe into Naruto games. We haven't experienced it in the format of Storm yet. And to know that if this is DLC and we have to pay for it, that's a little suspect to me. Not suspect in the fact that, keep in mind that everything that I'm speaking on is pure speculative. It doesn't mean that it's true or not. I'm just saying that if this is in fact DLC, I'm not sure how I want to feel moving forward with that. Even if it was day one, does that mean that there's a price tag? Does that mean that these DLCs are free? That's something that's really important to know. Now, if you have played Naruto Shinobi Striker, despite those DLCs existing and the seasons existing for those characters, you do have to in fact pay. Now granted, it's only $2.99 or something like that, right, for each character, or you can just pay $15 for the entirety of the season pass. But again, when you do that for a multitude of seasons, you start to see how that money starts to add up. So for me, it's not necessarily what you fork out in up front, it's what you end up forking out in long term as far as the game's concerned. Because if you're looking to back this game like they backed Naruto Shinobi Striker, which I have mentioned in a previous video before, that means that there's more money coming out of my pocket in order to support this game. And to speak on the database leaks regarding Naruto Storm Connections, let's say for instance when they place Kara, if you mention anything with Kara in the game, let's say that Kara is actually a part of the overall narrative for the story mode for this game, which I think is fantastic. If they are, great. My thing is that it is possible for them to be a part of the story but not be individually playable, and that's something that a lot of the data leaks don't necessarily tell you, and that goes for any character that is ever mentioned in a leak, whether you're using logic or not. If you see a character that is mentioned in the database, more than likely is a 50-50 chance of it being playable or not being playable, but it is possible to view the character in the story, and that's something that you have to take away when it comes to these data leaks. The same individual, Naruto Storm Co, has confirmed that this morning, the morning of March 15th, that Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm Connections would use the same graphics engine as Demon Slayer Hinokami Chronicles, which is essentially Unreal Engine 4, which this doesn't make a big surprise to me. As a matter of fact, the moment that we got Demon Slayer Hinokami Chronicles, I kind of suspected that if they were to do another Naruto game at this point, that it would essentially use the same graphical engine. Doesn't make any too much sense to really use anything different outside of what they already know. And at the same time, if we're talking about logistics, it'll be so much more money for them to rebuild an engine from the ground up for a brand new game that they just released a trailer for, and with the hopes of releasing it later on within the year. So it doesn't make sense for them to remake or rebuild a new graphical engine from the bottom up. Another thing that is also mentioned too is that many of the characters that are present in the lines of code will not be playable when the game is released. This is my issue whenever it comes to games like this, specifically with Naruto Storm Connections. I have to preface this by saying that this is a game that, well, first of all, people have been waiting for Storm 5 for such a long time, to a point where they have sunk so much time and effort into creating the community that is Naruto Storm 4. And I feel like with the amount of time that has passed and the amount of games that have been released in other animes and whatnot over time through Bandai Namco. Now, obviously, all of these aren't necessarily made by CC2, so that part I do understand. But if you're going to bring us a game, give us everything at this point, or at least give us enough to be able to say that, you know what, I just purchased a brand new Naruto game and not some remake or remaster. I understand that all that is still in the air on what this game is considered, considering what they showed us within the trailer. And of course, I understand that that's not the last trailer they're going to show us, let alone the last piece of information that they're going to share. But I'm looking at these leaks and I'm basing everything off of what we know right now, off of the trailer that we have, just so that way we can make sense of it all. We need a substantial amount of characters playable in the beginning or the launch of this game in order for it to feel justified in purchasing it. Don't get me wrong, I understand the business aspect of it, but in order for us to feel that we have purchased something that is brand new, that feels fresh off the block, that feels like a new Naruto game, we need those characters playable in the beginning. What I mean by that, I'm not saying that they have to be unlocked as soon as you pop in the game, right? I'm saying that they should be obtainable through story if that is possible, like they used to do back in the day. That's something that should be possible. I don't think that there's a bunch of characters. I do think that as far as a business is concerned, I do believe that DLC is important and it should exist. However, when the game is launching, give us what you know for a fact people want. And as long as you do that, we'll continue to support the game. It has happened over time with Road to Boruto and Storm 4. We need to change the formula of how these games are made. And as far as on the topic of characters, it is apparently shown that all the characters of the Otsutsuki clan are present in Boruto, or that are present in Boruto, also appear within the source data of Naruto X Boruto Ultimate Ninja Storm Connections, with Ashiki being included in that as well. With that being said though, because of the topic of new characters, it's a speculation. People believe that there will be about 20 new characters and about 10 in DLC. I say this not to be negative about the game. I say this because I want to be as crucial as possible, but I also want to be realistic as possible whenever it comes to Naruto Storm Connections. I don't want people feeling like they're purchasing a game that they can't, number one, have fun with and enjoy, but also feel abused by buying it. And when I say abused, the word sounds funny when you say it out loud, but really understand it for a second. All the games that have come out, all anime games, not just Naruto games. This isn't really about Naruto games for the most part. This is necessarily about all anime games. These anime games are continuously made because people continuously buy them because they love the series that they made the game for, and that's understandable. I get it. If they made a Bleach game right now, no matter how bad it may be, bitch, I'm playing that shit. I don't give a fuck. But the point what I'm saying is that at some point we have to draw the line in terms of what we decide to spend our hard-earned money on, because at the end of the day, as these games continuously come out and they become disappointments, you feel abused by the fact that we continuously buy them in hopes that they will be good, knowing that each time, again and again, that the standard that we have set for them are never met. And that's something that has to change. And I'm hoping that with Naruto Storm Connections, it takes a shift. The same thing with Budokai Tenkaichi, this new one that's being released. The same thing with that game. It has to change the narrative of how we approach not Naruto games, but how we approach anime games. And I'm just hoping for the future that does change, considering that I'm looking at this as a new wave of anime games to come out, and it's the start of a newer generation. You know, the PlayStation 5 is out, the new Xbox is out, people have PCs. There's so much that we can do with these games, whether it be just on a casual side and content side as well. But that's neither here or there. That's a whole nother video for another topic. But again, if you like the video, leave a like, leave a comment down in the comment section. Tell me your thoughts on all the leaks and your just your overall opinion on Naruto Storm Connections, and what do you expect to see later on in the months as far as new information, new leaks, trailers, all that good stuff. Anyways, my name is Post Kuchki, and I'm out.